Don't underestimate that old 5-cent coin. These 7 ultra-rare Jefferson nickels could be hiding in your pocket, and they're worth thousands to over $100,000 each. From wild mint errors to perfect full steps, these nickels are pure treasure. Watch till the end, you won't believe. Number 1. A quick history of the Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel debuted in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, it showcases the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, and his historic home Monticello on the reverse. By 1960, the Jefferson nickel had become a staple in American coinage. That year, the mint produced nickels at 2 locations. Philadelphia, no mint mark. Denver, D mint mark. Together, they produced over 194 million nickels in 1960. Sounds common, right? Bar chart part 2, mintage and key facts, 1960 nickels. Let's look at the production numbers. 1960, Philadelphia, 55 million. 1960 D, Denver, 129 million. While the Denver Mint made far more nickels that year, it's not just about quantity, it's about quality and anomalies. Some 1960 nickels feature striking errors, wrong planchets, or ultra-high grades that make them stand out. And that's where the value begins. Gemstone Part 3, Rare 1960 Nickel Errors and High-Value Coins. Now let's talk about the real moneymakers, the rare and valuable types of 1960 Jefferson nickels. Fire 1. 1960 nickel struck on a cent planchet. Some nickels were accidentally struck on copper penny planchets. These coins appear reddish, are lighter in weight, 3.11 g, and have design details cut off at the rim. White heavy checkmark value, $3,000 to $12,000, depending on grade. Fire 2. Off-center strike. An off-center strike occurs when the blank coin, planchet, isn't properly aligned during minting. A 1960 nickel struck 40 to 60% off-center with a visible date can fetch big money. White heavy checkmark value, $500 to $4,000, especially in high grade. Fire 3. Double die obverse, DDO, or reverse, DDR. Look for signs of doubling on the words Liberty, the date, or Monticello. Some examples show clear doubling that's visible without magnification. White heavy checkmark value, $1,000 to $6,000 plus, depending on sharpness and grade. Fire 4. Clipped planchet. When a blank planchet is punched too close to the edge of the metal strip, it results in a noticeable bite or clip in the coin. White heavy checkmark value, $200 to $1,500. Fire 5. Full steps, FS, designation. Full steps means all 5 or 6 steps on Monticello's front are completely visible, indicating a very sharp strike. This is incredibly rare for 1960 nickels due to weak striking that year. White heavy checkmark value. MES 65 FS, $500 to $1,000. MES 66 FS, $2,000 to $3,500. MS 67 FS, Top Pop, $15,000 to over $25,000. Chart increasing Part 4, Real Auction Sales of 1960 Nickels. Here are some actual auction prices for rare 1960 nickels. Coin type grade value 1960 nickel struck on 1C planchet MS 64 $11,000 1960 D off center 50%. MS 63 $3,200 1960 DDDO MS 65 $2,800 1960 MS 67 full steps MS 67 FS $16,500 1960 DMS 66 FS certified $3,200. These sales show that even one small error or exceptional quality can make a 5-cent coin worth tens of thousands. Magnifying glass tilted right. Part 1, The Jefferson Nickel Legacy. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, it features President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his home, Monticello, on the reverse. The design stayed largely unchanged until the Westward Journey series began in 2004. By 1962, the Jefferson nickel had become a coin of routine use, but not all were made equal. Some rare examples from this year are worth thousands, especially those with major mint errors or exceptionally high grades. Bar chart Part 2, the 1962 D. Jefferson nickel, mintage and background. In 1962, Jefferson nickels were struck at 2 mints. Philadelphia, no mint mark. Denver, D mint mark. The Denver Mint, 1962 D, produced a massive 280 million nickels, making it seem like a common coin. However, quantity doesn't always mean availability in perfect condition or without rare mistakes. That year, some nickels had striking issues, planchet errors, and full steps designations, making them extremely valuable today. Collision Part 3, Rare Errors and High-Value Varieties of the 1962 D nickel. So, what turns a 5-cent coin into a 5-figure payday? Let's dive into the rare 1962 D nickel errors that collectors go wild for. Fire 1. Full steps, FS, designation. One of the most valuable versions of the 1962 D nickel is the full steps variety. A full steps Jefferson nickel has 5 or 6 complete, unbroken steps at the base of Monticello. Because of worn dies and weak strikes that year, very few 1962 D nickels qualify as full steps, especially in mint state, MS, 66 or above. White heavy check mark value, MES 65 FS, $2,000 to $5,000. MES 66 FS, $10,000 to $20,000. MS 67 FS, top pop, up to $35,000 to $50,000 plus. Fire 2. Struck on a wrong planchet. Rare 1962 D nickels were struck on foreign coin planchets or copper penny planchets, resulting in off-color, lightweight coins. White heavy check mark value, $10,000 to $25,000 depending on metal and condition. Fire 3. Double die obverse, DDO. Some 1962 D nickels feature doubling in the inscriptions like Liberty, the date, or Jefferson's eye and lips, a dramatic minting mistake. White heavy check mark value, $1,000 to $6,000 depending on sharpness and grade. Fire 4. Off-center strikes. When the planchet is misaligned during minting, part of the design is struck off-center. If the date is visible, collectors pay a premium. White heavy check mark value, $300 to $2,500 plus for 40 to 60% off-center strikes. Fire 5. Clipped planchets. Part of the coin appears cut or bitten off. These mistakes can be dramatic and very collectible. White heavy check mark value, $200 to $1,200 plus. Chart increasing Part 4, Auction records and sales for rare 1962 D nickels. Here are some real-world auction prices for rare 1962 D Jefferson nickels. Coin type grade sale price 1962 D MS 67 full steps top pop $32,400. Heritage auctions 1962 D DDO MS 65 $4,850. 1962 D off center MS 63 $1,975. 1962 D clipped planchet MS 64 $720. 1962 D on cent planchet MS 64 RB $16,800. Even mint state nickels without errors can be valuable if they achieve MS 67 or higher. That's because so few exist in such perfect condition after 60 plus years. Magnifying glass tilted left Part 5, How to spot a valuable 1962 D nickel. Ready to check your coins? Here's a simple guide. White heavy check mark Step 1, look for the mint mark. The D mint mark is on the right of Monticello. You're hunting for 1962 D, not the Philadelphia version. White heavy check mark Step 2, check the steps of Monticello. Use a 10x loop. Count the 5 or 6 steps at the base, must be sharp and unbroken for full steps designation. White heavy check mark Step 3, weigh the coin. Standard nickel equals 5.00 grams. Lighter coins could be wrong planchet errors. White heavy check mark Step 4, look for off-center strikes and clipping. If part of the coin design is missing, you might have a major error. White heavy check mark Step 5, look for doubling. Check the date, Liberty, and Jefferson's face for doubled lines or features. White heavy check mark Step 6, get it graded. Send your coin to PCGS or NGC for professional certification. Graded coins sell for way more at auction. Part 1, a quick history of the Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel began circulation in 1938, replacing the iconic Buffalo nickel. It features Thomas Jefferson's portrait on the front and his home, Monticello, on the reverse. The original design by Felix Schlag remained nearly unchanged until 2004. In 1970, the mint produced Jefferson nickels at Philadelphia, no mint mark. Denver, D. San Francisco, S. But here's the important twist: the San Francisco Mint mostly produced proof coins, not intended for circulation. However, mistakes happen. Some of these 1970s nickels slipped into the wild, and that's where their rarity begins. Bar chart part 2, the 1970s nickel, basic mintage and mystery. The 1970s Jefferson nickel had a relatively low mintage of only 2.6 million proof coins. That's far less than regular nickels that year. These were meant for collectors, shiny, flawless, and not supposed to enter everyday circulation. However, a few errors occurred. Some 1970s nickels were struck on the wrong planchet. Others had dramatic striking errors. And some proof coins made it into general circulation, which is extremely rare. That makes 1970s nickels in circulation or with errors incredibly desirable to collectors today. Gemstone Part 3, Rare Error Types that make 1970s nickels valuable. So what exactly should you look for? Here are the top rare error types and valuable conditions that turn a 1970s nickel into a 5- or 6-figure payday. Fire 1. Struck on the wrong planchet. Some 1970s nickels were mistakenly struck on Lincoln cent, copper, planchets. These coins weigh less than 5 grams and appear copper red in color. White heavy checkmark value, up to $20,000 to $35,000, depending on grade. Fire 2. Proof nickel in circulation, cameo or deep cameo. Proof coins have mirrored fields and frosted devices. If you find a 1970s proof nickel that's been circulated, it's incredibly rare. White heavy checkmark value, $1,000 to $5,000 plus, depending on wear and cameo contrast. Fire 3. Off-center strike. If the coin design is significantly shifted, with a visible date, you've got a premium error on your hands. White heavy checkmark value, $500 to $3,000, especially at 40% plus off-center. Fire 4. Double die obverse, DDO, or reverse, DDR. Doubling on Jefferson's face, Liberty, or Monticello can bring in thousands. A strong, visible double die is a collector magnet. White heavy checkmark value, $1,500 to $8,000 plus, depending on sharpness and grade. Fire 5. Full steps, FS, nickels. This is one of the most sought-after designations. Full steps means all 5 or 6 steps of Monticello are clearly struck, with no breaks. MES 65 FS, $1,500 to $2,500. MES 66 FS, $3,000 to $5,000. MS 67 FS, top pop, up to $15,000 to $20,000 plus. Chart increasing part 4, real auction prices for 1970s nickels. Let's take a look at actual auction results for rare 1970s Jefferson nickels. Coin type grade sold price 1970s on 1C planchet MS, 64 $24,000 1970s proof in circulation PF $2,800 1970s FSMS, 67, top pop, certified $14,500 1970s off-center MS $2,200 1970s DDO MS $6,000. These coins went from being forgotten in coin folders to pulling huge money at auction houses like Heritage and Stack's Bowers. Magnifying glass tilted right part 5, how to spot a rare 1970s Jefferson nickel. Here's how you can identify a rare and valuable 1970s nickel. White heavy checkmark, check the weight. Standard nickel weight equals 5.00 G. Penny planchet equals 3.11 G. If it's lighter, you may have a wrong planchet coin. White heavy checkmark, look for proof features. Mirror-like background. Frosty designs. These were not meant to circulate. White heavy checkmark, inspect for doubling. Use a magnifier to check Liberty, Monticello, and the date. White heavy checkmark, examine Monticello's steps. 5 to 6 clear steps equals full steps, FS, designation. These are extremely rare for this date and mint. White heavy checkmark, check the strike. Off-center. Incomplete edge. You could be holding a multi-thousand-dollar error. White heavy check mark, get it graded. Send promising finds to PCGS or NGC for grading. This is how they reach maximum market. Part 1. Background, the Jefferson Nickel Series. The Jefferson nickel was first minted in 1938, designed by Felix Schlag, and it replaced the beloved Buffalo nickel. Featuring President Thomas Jefferson on the front and Monticello, his Virginia estate, on the back, this 5-cent piece has become an iconic part of American coinage. By 1964, the Jefferson nickel had already been circulating for over 25 years. But that year, something very special happened. With the looming coin shortage of the 1960s, the U.S. Mint ramped up production of nickels and stopped placing mint marks on coins in 1965. That makes 1964 the last Denver mint-marked Jefferson nickel for several years, and one of the most misunderstood and valuable dates in the series. Bar chart Part 2, 1964 mintage and mint history. In 1964, the Denver Mint struck a jaw-dropping 1.79 billion Jefferson nickels, the highest mintage ever for any nickel at that time. But here's the twist. Despite this enormous number, many coins were weakly struck, poorly preserved, made with aging dies. This led to an incredible rarity. Very few coins from this year have full steps, perfect strikes, or major mint errors. And those that do are now some of the most valuable nickels in American history. Collision Part 3, Rare 1964 Jefferson nickel varieties and errors. Let's uncover what turns a regular 1964 nickel into a $10,000 plus treasure. These are the rare types you need to know about. Fire 1. Full steps, FS, designation. A nickel with the full steps designation has 5 or 6 clearly defined, uninterrupted steps at the base of Monticello. For 1964 this is incredibly rare. Due to worn dies and rushed production, most coins are weakly struck. But those with sharp detail, especially in grades MS65, MS66, or MS67, are worth big money. Values. MS65 FS, $1,000 to $3,000. MS66 FS, $5,000 to $15,000. MS67 FS, Top Pop, over $35,000 to $75,000. Backhand index pointing right, one of these even sold for $32,900 at auction. Fire 2. Double die obverse, DDO, or reverse, DDR. Some 1964 nickels have doubling visible on the date, Liberty, and I in God We Trust, or on the reverse lettering around Monticello. White heavy check mark values, $1,000 to $5,000 plus depending on clarity and grade. Fire 3. Struck on the wrong planchet. Extremely rare versions were struck on planchets meant for copper pennies, dimes, foreign coins. These off-metal errors are extremely valuable due to their unusual weight and appearance. White heavy check mark values, $10,000 to $50,000 plus. Fire 4. Off-center strike. A 1964 nickel with a dramatic off-center strike, especially if the date is still visible, is highly collectible. White heavy check mark values, $500 to $2,500 plus. Fire 5. Clipped planchet. If part of the nickel looks like it was bitten off, it could be a clipped planchet, another rare and valuable mint error. White heavy check mark values, $300 to $1,500 plus. Chart increasing Part 4. Real auction records for 1964 nickels. Let's talk real numbers. Here are actual auction results. Coin type grade auction value 1964 MS67 full steps PCGS $32,900 1964 double die obverse MS65 $4,800 1964 nickel on penny planchet MS64 RB $16,250 1964 off-center strike MS64 $2,000 1964 clipped planchet MS65 $1,100. As you can see, the key to value lies in the details. A simple step, a tiny clip, or a perfect strike can multiply the value by tens of thousands. Magnifying glass tilted left Part 5, how to spot a rare 1964 Jefferson nickel. Want to know if your 1964 nickel is rare? Follow these steps. White heavy checkmark. Step 1. Check the mint mark. Look for the small d to the right of Monticello, reverse side. White heavy checkmark. Step 2. Examine Monticello's steps. Use a 10x magnifier. Are there 5 or 6 clear, uninterrupted steps? If yes, you might have a full steps rarity. White heavy checkmark. Step 3. Look for doubling. Look closely at Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and the date. White heavy checkmark. Step 4. Weigh the coin. A normal nickel weighs 5.00 grams. If your coin is heavier or lighter, you could have a wrong planchet. White heavy checkmark. Step 5. Check for errors. Look for clipped edges, off-center strikes, or anything abnormal. White heavy checkmark. Step 6. Grade it professionally. Send it to PCGS or NGC. Graded coins sell for far more at auction. Part 1. History of the Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel was first minted in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. Designed by Felix Schlag, it features the third U.S. President, Thomas Jefferson, on the front and his historic estate, Monticello, on the reverse. The design remained mostly unchanged until 2004, making every Jefferson nickel between 1938 and 2003 part of the classic era. By 1974, this nickel had already become a staple in American life. But despite its common appearance, some 1974 nickels are incredibly rare and valuable, especially with specific mint errors and high-grade, full steps strikes. Bar chart Part 2, mintage numbers for the 1974 nickel. In 1974, the U.S. Mint produced Jefferson nickels at Philadelphia, no mint mark, over 601 million coins. Denver, D mint mark, over 277 million coins. San Francisco, S mint mark, primarily proof coins. While the total mintage makes 1974 nickels seem common, certain rare errors, planchet types, and MS67 plus full steps examples are incredibly valuable today, some worth up to 6 figures at auction. Gemstone Part 3, Rare Errors and Valuable Varieties. Let's uncover the real hidden treasures, the most valuable error coins and special varieties of the 1974 Jefferson nickel. Fire 1. Full steps, FS, designation. A full steps nickel has 5 or 6 uninterrupted steps at the base of Monticello, sharply struck and clear. These are extremely rare for 1974, especially in top mint state grades like MS66 or MS67. MS65 FS, $500 to $1,200. MS66 FS, $2,000 to $6,000. MS67 FS, top pop, $10,000 to $25,000 or more. Fire 2. Double die obverse, DDO, or reverse, DDR. Some rare 1974 nickels show doubling on Liberty, In God We Trust, or the building of Monticello. White heavy checkmark value, $1,000 to $5,000 plus, depending on visibility and condition. Fire 3. Struck on the wrong planchet. A few 1974 nickels were mistakenly struck on foreign coin planchets or Lincoln cent, copper, planchets. These weigh less than 5 grams and appear reddish or thin. White heavy checkmark value, $10,000 to $20,000 plus depending on the type of planchet and grade. Fire 4. Off-center strike. If the design is off to one side, especially 40% to 60% off-center, and the date is still visible, you could be holding a valuable mint error. White heavy checkmark value, $500 to $2,500 plus. Fire 5. Clipped planchet. This error occurs when the blank coin was punched too close to the edge of the metal strip, resulting in a curved or straight bite out of the coin. White heavy checkmark value, $200 to $1,500. Chart increasing Part 4. Real auction results of 1974 Jefferson nickels. Let's look at actual auction prices paid by collectors for rare 1974 nickels. Coin type grade auction value 1974, DMS67 full steps PCGS certified $11,400 1974, D double die obverse MS65 $3,600 1974 nickel on penny planchet MS64 RB $14,250 1974 off-center strike, 45%. MS63 $1,950 1974, S-Proof Cameo PR69 DCAM $1,100. These sales show how a tiny mint mistake or perfect condition can transform a 5-cent coin into a life-changing discovery. Magnifying glass tilted left part 5, how to spot a rare 1974 Jefferson nickel. Here's what to look for when checking your change or coin rolls. White heavy check mark mint mark location. Check the reverse side, to the right of Monticello, for a D or S. White heavy check mark step detail, full steps. Use a 10x magnifier. Count 5 to 6 uninterrupted steps at the base of Monticello. Look for sharpness, no flattening, and no scratches. White heavy check mark look for doubling. Inspect Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the Monticello building for shadow-like letters or lines. White heavy check mark weigh the coin. Normal nickel equals 5.00 G. Lighter equals wrong planchet. Use a scale accurate to 0.01 G. White heavy check mark check for off-center and clipping. Missing rim. Weird strike. Could be a premium error. White heavy check mark consider grading. If your coin looks rare, send it to PCGS or NGC. Graded coins fetch far higher prices. Part 1. The history of the Jefferson nickel. The Jefferson nickel was introduced in 1938, designed by Felix Schlag, and has been one of America's longest-running coin series. It features the third U.S. President, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse and Monticello, his Virginia estate, on the reverse. By 1990, the Jefferson nickel had already been in circulation for over 5 decades. But even though the design was familiar, some coins minted in 1990, especially from the Denver Mint, D, became the stuff of legend due to extremely rare errors, high-grade full-step strikes, and mysterious wrong planchet mistakes. Bar chart part 2, 1990, D Jefferson nickel mintage. In 1990, the Denver Mint struck over 570 million Jefferson nickels with the D mint mark. That's a lot, but don't let the high mintage fool you. Even among hundreds of millions, a few rare varieties slip through, including errors, off-metal strikes, and MS-67 plus full-step specimens, which are now worth a fortune. Collision Part 3. Rare 1990 D Jefferson nickel errors and high-value varieties. What transforms a common nickel into a high-value collector's item? Let's break down the most valuable 1990 D Jefferson nickels. Fire 1. Full steps designation, FS. Full steps, FS, means the steps at the base of Monticello are sharply struck and fully visible, with no breaks. These coins are rare for 1990, and even more so in high grades. White heavy check mark values. MS-66 FS, $500 to $2,000. MS-67 FS, top pop, $10,000 to $25,000 plus. Some 1990 D nickels with full steps have sold for over $15,000 at auctions like Heritage and Stack's Bowers. Fire 2. Struck on the wrong planchet. This is where things get exciting. Some 1990 D nickels were mistakenly struck on foreign or penny planchets, like copper or aluminum. These coins appear off-colored and weigh less than 5 grams. White heavy check mark values. Wrong planchet error, $10,000 to $30,000 plus, depending on condition and metal type. Fire 3. Off-center strike. If a coin is misaligned during minting and the design is shifted, collectors pay high premiums, especially if the date is still visible. White heavy check mark value, $300 to $2,500 plus depending on the percentage off-center. Fire 4. Double die obverse, DDO/reverse, DDR. If you see doubling in the words Liberty, In God We Trust, or on Monticello, you might have a rare DDO or DDR. White heavy check mark value, $500 to $5,000 plus depending on strength and condition. Fire 5. Clipped planchet. This minting error happens when a blank is punched too close to the edge, causing a curved or straight clip. White heavy check mark value, $200 to $1,500 plus. Chart increasing Part 4, Real auction prices of rare 1990 D Jefferson nickels. Let's talk real numbers. These are actual sales from coin auctions. Coin type grade auction price 1990, D MS67 full steps PCGS $11,400 1990, D nickel on cent planchet NGC MS65 RB $17,850 1990, D off center strike, 40%. MS64 $2,200 1990, D clipped planchet MS65 $980 1990, D double die reverse MS66 $3,700. As you can see, what might look like a worthless coin to some is a gold mine to a trained collector. Magnifying glass tilted left.